Okay, here we go.
Of course.
All right. Hopefully, we are streaming. Sorry for the delay. We are just a little bit late. Technology is always fun. So, all right, here we go. Hi, I'm Jean Schumacher, founder of Simply Plant Based, where I have a lot of programs to help you to change your health destiny, including the Pregnancy Advantage, where Dr. Deborah Shapiro, who is an OBGYN, she and I help women to get their bodies pregnant ready or to help heal your bodies if dealing with infertility issues, as well as the Plant-Based Academy, where I provide help, support, guidance, and resources to switch to a plant-based lifestyle. So tonight, I have the honor of connecting with Meryl Fury. She has her master's degree in nursing and holds certificates from the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies in Plant-Based Nutrition and from the Ruby Online Culinary School, as well as the Forks Over Knives Plant-Based Cuisine. After years of formal study in nursing, human health, personal transformation, and meditation practice, Meryl's passion is to make a difference for people through whole food, plant-based lifestyle eating. So Meryl, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here tonight.
Totally my pleasure, Jean. Nice to see you.
Yes, especially once the technology works.
Right? Yes, we had just a handful of hurdles to get over. That was all.
I know, but we did it. So
Yes.
we persevered. So
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. What made you go plant-based? Share your story.
Wow. So it started when I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah, right. So back in those days, and you could do the math and figure out how old I am, but it was like 1976-ish. And the price of beef just skyrocketed. I don't know what was going on. I wasn't like politically or current events aware at that time, but for whatever reason the price of beef went up really high, and my parents had a budget. They tried to maintain for all the necessities in life, and my mom in particular was responsible for buying the food, as is very common, right? That's what the women do. We buy the food, you manage the food thing.
Right.
She was also a physical education instructor, a gym teacher. So she had been well trained that kids need 3 square meals a day. And they don't even use that terminology anymore, right? But remember, the corners of the square were meat, dairy, a starch, and a vegetable, and fruit was like extra.
Right.
So price of beef goes up. My mother starts basically having a really difficult, an upset about the price of beef, because 3 square meals on the table a day, how do you pay for that, right? How do you cover that with your budget if the prices of everything are going up? And not only was beef going up at the time, but because it was an animal protein, it dragged all the other prices up at the same time. So pork went up, chicken went up, fish went up, all of it went up, and my mother was in an uproar, right?
Right.
So she was the center of my world. I was very close to my mom, and seeing her in this kind of upset all the time, ranting about how am I going to pay for 3 square meals a day? How are we going to keep you kids fed? How are you going to grow big and strong? All this was very upsetting to me too. So anyway, one weekend I went over a friend's house, my best girlfriend at the time, and she had 4 kids in her family, and her mom was going through it only twice as bad. Right? Same thing. And so my girlfriend and I decided, hey, we could just stop eating meat. How about that? There's the solution. We figured it out. Bang. Right? So just give our portions, our 21 servings of meat per week, to the brother, the father, the sister, the mom. You guys have it. We don't need it there. You just saved your grocery bill. Well, my mom came to pick me up from my girlfriend's house after that weekend, right? Picks me up on a Sunday. I get in the car and I'm like all excited. I said, Mom, guess what? She's like, what? I'm going to stop eating meat. And I swear, Jean, she nearly drove off the road, right? What are you talking about? You can't stop eating meat like that. How are you going to be big and strong? You're going to be weak. You're going to be skinny. You're going to get rickets, whatever she said.
Wait. Where are you going to get your protein?
Well, she didn't even say that. Well, she may have said that. She may have, but she was certainly keyed in on the healthy kids need milk and meat to grow big and strong, right? That was kind of the message back in those days. So I told her, well, I already made a promise to my friend Lori. This is what we're doing. And she tried to insist that, no, you need to eat meat. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. Anyway, I got home that night. She had fixed her signature dish. She was an excellent, excellent cook of the typical American diet style. And she had made spaghetti with meatballs, one of her classics, right?
Right.
And our method at home for dinner was you get the plate, you walk your plate up to the stove, mom serves the meal, you take your plate, you go sit down at the table and eat, right? So I go through the steps, I take my plate, I go over to the stove, she puts the pasta, she puts the sauce, she plops 2 meatballs, and I said, I'm not eating the meatballs. And now, Jean, I don't know how your mom was, but my mom was one of those, she could just look at me and level me, right? So I said, Mom, I'm not eating those. And she said, go sit down and eat your dinner. Okay, no more conversation about that. I went down, sat down, ate my dinner, and rolled the meatballs off to the side and ate this pasta sauce. Okay, so she's like, okay, you won that one, right? The next day, she tried more meat. Nope, I'm not eating it. More meat the next day. Nope, nope, nope. By the end of the week, she figured she had me. So she made spaghetti again, which was not typical, but she made it with meat sauce.
Oh,
Scrambled ground beef all through it.
yeah, yeah.
And I've been telling her all week, Mom, I'm not eating that. I'm not eating that. Well, now I have some meat sauce. What am I going to do? So I go take her my plate. She plops the stuff on the dish as typical. And I said, I'm not eating that. She said the same thing. Go sit down and eat your dinner. Well, I was a sassy child. You might not know that from how I am now.
No.
I know, hard to believe. I sat down, I put my fork in the pasta, I twirl it up, right? Put it in my mouth, and Jean, this is horrible. I literally spit out every little morsel of meat onto my plate at the dinner table. I think my mother was so mortified and disgusted at the same time. By the end of the meal, who wanted to sit with me anymore anyway? So she just let it go. That was it. 1 week of me flat blanket refusal. And then she let it go. So from there, my journey just continued. I stopped eating mammals at that time. And then over years, I stopped eating poultry and I found out I had a dairy allergy. So that was easy. And then I moved to the Midwest as an adult. I'm 30 years old by then, moved to the upper Midwest. I'm in
The
Wisconsin.
land of mayonnaise.
Yes. Oh, wait. It's really beer and cheese and brats and beer.
Right.
And beer. So I moved up here and there's lakes. There, the Great Lakes. It's right over there, the Great Lake. And people eat fish out of lakes here, which I just find appalling anyway. And after being here for about a year, actually, so I'm a public health nurse, right, by profession, by specialty. And I remember I was in the prenatal clinic and I saw a flyer one time, maybe you've seen it, and it said, according to the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, a pregnant woman should not eat more than 1 fish per year out of one of the inland lakes.
Yes.
And all I could think was, okay, pregnant women are special, but not that special. If a pregnant woman shouldn't be eating it, nobody should be eating it. Right? Not even 1 a year. What are you kidding me? 1 a year? So I stopped eating fish at that point. And yeah, it's been that kind of path ever since,
Just the fish, and I just have to comment on this because the mercury, if you are considering getting pregnant or you are pregnant, please make sure you check your mercury levels, have blood work done and check your mercury levels because that can have such a profound impact on the fetus. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. Mercury is so toxic. I'm a chemistry teacher. It is, I cannot say enough about it, especially the toxic chemicals, and it's just not just mercury. It's just, I talk about it as what I call the trifecta approach. You have to change what goes in, so food and drink. You have to change what goes on, so that's personal care products that are toxic free and the environmental toxins that you're being exposed to, like candles, those plug-in things.
Just fragrances.
Bounce. Oh my God, I'll never forget. Couple was power walking ahead of us. My husband and I were strolling, and this couple power walks by us. I could smell the bounce on them for a quarter of a mile. And bounce by itself is a double vector, because it is sitting against your skin, the clothing. So it's going through your bloodstream. In 26 seconds, it's in your bloodstream. 26, anything on your skin in 26 seconds is in your bloodstream, but you're also breathing it, because you smell that smell, you're breathing that in, and that's also getting into your bloodstream through your lungs. So it's a double vector. So anyway, I digress. I digress. I'm like you. Okay.
Yeah.
So you lead a nonprofit group.
Yes.
With a big mission. Tell us what this is and what you're working on.
Oh my gosh. This is just, I don't know. I feel like my face is lighting up. I love this work. Let me just digress. So I've been a nurse for 30 years. Never once in the course of being a nurse have I had this level of sustained job satisfaction as I have now, right? So now I lead a nonprofit. It's called the Plant-Based Nutrition Movement. And it is all about just that, helping people transition from less healthy ways of eating to as healthy as we can get them to go, right?
Right.
So from the typical standard American diet with all the highly processed foods being at one end of the spectrum and heavily meat-centric, animal-centric, to the other end of the spectrum, which is, completely whole food, plant-based. If you want to go no sugar, no salt, no oil, as far as you want to go, no alcohol, as far as you want to go. So that's what the nonprofit does. These days, for the last year, actually it started like the summer that COVID hit, right? So summer of 2020, it became really super obvious, right? That people in more challenged situations, fewer resources, more vulnerable, as we used to call them. I don't really like that word, vulnerable populations, people living without a lot of access and resources and such. Obviously, we're having terrible outcomes with COVID, right? And we obviously, anybody who's spent any time looking closely at it could see these were the same people that had high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, cancers. Those were the ones who were most at risk for the worst outcomes with COVID, right? So we started focusing we shifted our mission a bit from helping people to just transition to really specifically helping populations that were being hardest hit and most heavily marketed to for poor eating habits, right? About a year ago, I kind of woke up one morning and was like, but wait, across the board, bar none, children are our most vulnerable population. And that is because, right, they don't have a say in anything. A lot of times they just plain can't because they're too little. And legally, they don't get to make their own decisions, right? It's developmentally inappropriate in a lot of cases. And they are heavily marketed to by big food companies to eat the worst stuff all the time. And even the flip side, the healthier foods are vilified in the media. Yes. For children. How many times have you seen a kid with a broccoli and they're looking at it like, ew, right? That's what we think of with kids and broccoli. So these vegetables and healthy foods are vilified as they relate to children. Mm-hmm. So I woke up with this thing like, okay, we gotta handle the children. That's across all population sectors. And it really doesn't matter if the parents are married or if they go to church or you're having family dinners, all those, that trifecta. What is the education level? Are they black, white, brown, green, yellow, purple? What color are they? What language do they speak? It doesn't matter. The level of income doesn't matter. Children are just really poorly fed in this country. So we initiated a project called 6 Million Seeds. And the goal is to, teach children and their grown-ups why it's important for children in particular to eat real food. Right. So it's a 3-part project. Part one is we go into educational settings and we talk to children, we teach them, we show them, we give them experience of whole food, plant-based cooking, eating, making, doing. If we have access and it's the right time of year, we'll grow a garden. If we have enough time, we'll, you know, you can eat what comes out of the garden, make meals out of that. We also, then the part two of the project is a podcast that we do similar to this, where we talk to people who are well steeped in health and whole food plant-based eating or organic gardening or climate activism, or they're researchers, they're doctors, they're nurses, they're whoever they are, just so that we can get a very well-rounded set of voices who can talk about the importance of how we feed children from a lot of different angles. Excuse me. And then part three of the project is where we create a coalition to move the whole thing forward. Like the analogy is like a soccer team moves a ball down the field. You just move it, march it, march it, march it toward the goal. And the goal is to actually spend the next 10 years keeping this message in the forefront so that the average parent gets the message and the average school teacher gets, the average healthcare provider, average anybody who has anything to say about kids' nutrition gets the information. So that, wouldn't it be great if instead of this rising trend of children having diabetes, high blood pressure, ADD, anxiety, depression, obesity, all these horrible, horrible burdens of illness that these children are beginning to suffer?
Well, I saw this in the classroom. I've been a classroom teacher, you know, high school chemistry for over 35 years, and I'm still continuing to teach now, going on 40. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm doing it virtually. But in my classroom, especially like the last 10 years of my teaching, first of all, I don't teach the way I did when I first started because they can't handle it.
Mm.
And I've seen a decline in the cognitive development of our children without question. And I kept thinking, what is this? What is this? And that's why I did a TED talk on this. What is causing this? Because I was born in 1960. Okay, not quite up there with the dinosaurs or anything, but in my neighborhood, in my town, we knew every, you know, all the kids who,
Right.
you know, went to our schools. I never saw an autistic child until the 1990s. Okay, never saw that. And so here's the thing. Now, according to the CDC, 1 out of 47 children are autistic.
Wow.
Okay. Why?
What?
Since the 1990s, what has happened in our
What's
environment?
changed?
And I totally attribute it to the chemicals that we're being exposed to in processed foods, in the whole industry of you know, growing plants.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the chemicals that they put on the food is insane. So please, if anybody's listening, please, as much as you can, go organic. I that's all I buy. I mean, and I'm grateful that I can, but with everybody that you can, if you can't afford organic, and I get it, then there's what's called the dirty dozen, the clean 15 and the dirty dozen. So the clean 15 are things that you can buy organic or not, and it's not going to have that big of a toxic load. But the dirty dozen, you definitely want to make sure that you have that. And you can go to the ewg.org website. They have the clean 15. They post it every year, clean 15, dirty dozen. So, but and it's not, that's just autism and all the other issues that students are being dealt with. On any given day, I never had 100% attendance in my 5 classes that I was teaching. Not one day, not one. And I would have kids chronically out and sick all the time, you know, and with stomach issues, with digestive issues, chasing one doctor after another. And I'm like, it's the food, you know, and trying to let people know this ahead of time. And I just have to say, my grandson, who was he was the beta tester for the Pregnancy Advantage program when we were actually building this. So my stepdaughter was literally doing this. She was like, you know, one module behind us as we were building this.
Right.
And so he is now 100%. This child, not only was she plant-based when she got pregnant, I mean, she had cleaned her body out, then she was plant-based when she got pregnant, had no issues with delivery, pregnancy, and all of that. And then the baby is 100% plant-based. Now, of course, when he's hungry, cranky, irritable, we're all, whatever. But this is the happiest kid I've ever seen. I mean, honestly. And I really believe it's because, when you start to feed kids cheese or dairy or meat or whatever like that, their stomach is not ready for it and their digestive system is not ready for it. And so all they can do is cry. That's their only way of expressing, like, oh, I don't feel good. And they cry.
Right.
This kid hardly ever cries. Not to say that he doesn't, because like if he's tired or cranky or hungry, hangry,
Right.
as we all get,
Right.
he will. But in general, this is one of the happiest campers. And I have to say, and I truly believe, and sick, he hardly ever gets sick. And if he does, it's like 1 or 2 days, and then he's back up and about and running. Anyway, I digressed.
Yeah.
Continue telling us about here.
No, it's so it's thank you that you are a like-minded, cut from the same cloth kind of person. It's easy to have these conversations, right? But wouldn't it be something if our kids didn't have to ever deal with diabetes? Why should they?
I know.
Why should our kids have to deal with heart disease by the time they're 15, obesity and anxiety, depression, huge emotions that they can't modulate, they can't self-regulate, outbursts and anger and violence. And now I'm not saying food is the only cause of these things.
Correct.
Because there's certainly a lot of families living with a lot of chaotic situations and challenging situations. I don't minimize that at all. However,
no, but it's the low-hanging fruit.
Well, yeah. However, if we could at least set the kids up for the best possible chances at success, it would include food and the right sets, the right types of food, healthy food, human food, not weird chemicals and not stuff that's food-like substances, and then all the heavy hormone-laden cheeses and the meats and the fish with the mercury and the PCBs and the everything. It's just too much. I agree.
100%. Well, you have a summit coming up this weekend.
Yes.
So what is this about, and who is this summit for?
The summit, okay, so let me answer your question in order. It is about child nutrition. Oh, amazing. It's called the 6 million seeds. Let me get it straight. 6 million seeds 2022 Child Nutrition Summit. And it is about giving people straight information, not sugar-coated, not paid for by any large food producing companies, so that we give people straight information about the importance of feeding children healthy human food. Plant predominant. Now, I'm not going to say, I know I have family members that will never go 100% whole food plant-based, right? So I'm willing to, we have to meet people where they are. So as many fruits and vegetables as you can put on your child's plate, how to do that, recipes, we have cooking demos, we have educators who will be speaking, we've got medical doctors, pediatricians, trying to think who else, some researchers will be talking about the different aspects of why it's important to feed children healthy food. Everything from, using food as medicine to the impact it has on the climate and the planet. So that's what it's about. It's 4 days, December 3rd through the 6th, 2 sessions per day.
Is it free?
It's free. Now, I will say this one thing, free is good. It's free, it's live, it's online. You don't have to come to Wisconsin. You can just sit in front of your computer and watch it. There are actually, if you wanted to pay for a ticket, you can buy what we're calling a VIP access upgrade, and that would give you access to all of the sessions, which everybody gets anyway, paid or unpaid, but you also get 30 minutes after each free session with the presenters to ask them your questions, get your concerns addressed, Amazing perk, because most of these people, these are very well, sought after people, right? So we have
Well, that was my next question. Who's presenting?
Okay, well, I'm looking at
Bring
my
it on
schedule over
down.
here. That's why I keep looking over that way. So we have Dr. Columbus Batiste to kick it off. He'll be talking about, okay, we have a Terminator in our midst. We gotta fight off the Terminator and save our kids, right? That's literally what he's going with. We have Antonia and Ariel Dimas, who are long standing, well-respected educators who've used food education, nutrition education to change children's lives, to transform how they think and how they act, right? Also, Dr. Tammy Turner, she's a registered dietitian. Beautiful, beautiful. She specialized in children, obesity, and diabetes. We have Evelise Capot, who is a food for life instructor, a pharmacist. She'll be talking about food for medicine, food as medicine, and she's doing cooking demos. She's got like 5 or 6 recipes, I think she's going to do.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Joel Furman that we're expecting to host. I got a little scary email from him a bit earlier, but I think we're going to work it out. Hope that's okay. But anyway, he'll be talking about food as medicine too. And then Leanne Campbell, for Dr. T. Colin Campbell's daughter, she'll be talking about
She's
Earth.
amazing.
Oh, I love her.
Oh my God. I did an interview with her and the stuff that she's done, like in the Dominican Republic.
Yes,
Oh my God.
exactly what she'll be talking about.
Yeah, amazing.
Regenerative gardening, right?
Yes.
Bringing the life back to the earth. Frances Moore Lapay, who is, I believe they call her the mother of the movement. Now, she might be at grandmother stage now, right? She's been around a long time, but she is one of the people who I first read her books when I was about 20, her first book, Diet for a Small Planet. She has actually won an award for one of the people who changed the way Americans eat in a good way, right? Amazing, amazing. And then last we have my dear friend Dilip Barman. Not, I mean, some people know that name, right? And his daughter Anu, they'll be doing a cooking demo where
They just came here to Cape Cod and we did Code Blue at the movie theater because we have a very active Facebook or a potluck group and group that meets on a monthly basis. And, you know, we do different things. Like one month we did Code Blue and he came up with his daughter.
Yes.
And they were part of a panel and stuff like that because he was I don't know, it was an executive producer or a producer.
Yeah.
I forget what it was, but he was he did that movie. And
yes.
Amazing, amazing man.
Yes, he is. He hosts the largest vegan Thanksgiving dinner in the country.
Right?
That you can only get tickets by lottery. So if you want to try and get there, it's in North Carolina, put your name in for the lottery. So he and Anu will be doing a cooking demo. I think he's going to be teaching her about how to do something, you know, so people can actually see, okay, this is how you work with a kid in the kitchen, right? And then the last one is Dr. Yami, who is a plant-based pediatrician, and she'll be talking about, you know, how to feed your kids with less stress and more joy.
You've got quite a lineup there.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really super grateful, super stoked about it. We've been working on it for.
As you could be.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you. It's finally coming. We've been working on it for close to a year. So.
Well, why did you want to do the summit? What was the driving force?
Wow, you know, because I want more people to get this message. It's so critical. You know, we say children are our future, which is true, right? There's a great song by Whitney Houston, I think.
Beautiful.
Right? We believe children are our future. But to me, really, children are right now front and center, present moment all the time. If you have a sick kid in your house, you are not getting away from that. The child can't manage, your family is going to be affected. Eventually, if the child stays out of school too long, school gets involved. You have truancy things. At some point, some kids go as far as to having to deal with the law and all kinds of things. A sick child is an important thing, and it happens right now. When it happens, it's this moment. It's not in the future, it's now.
Right.
If we could get, again, our parents to understand that just because something is on the shelf and called food doesn't mean you're supposed to eat it.
Right.
Could we please support our children's health so that by the time they get to be 15, 16, 17, 18, 25, 35, they're not already suffering with burdens of illness.
100%. No, for sure. Have you
Horrible.
seen the movie Secret Ingredients?
No.
Oh, you need to. Oh my gosh. I'm putting it in the chat below.
Okay.
It's called secretingredientsmovie.com. This is a movie by Jeffrey Smith and Amy Hart.
Mhm.
They did an incredible movie showcasing the main family that it's like a documentary, and in the main family that goes through the thread. It was a woman who she and her husband, they met. They're like one of those triathlete people,
Okay.
swim, run. Why is it when plant-based people go, they do this? I don't know. Anyway, they do all these. I'm not running. I'll be the first to go. I'm not running. Bottom line, unless a bear is behind me, I'm not moving fast. But all these plant-based. Anyway, she met her husband that way. They had 3 kids, and within they had, between the 5 of them, over 21 health issues, with the youngest being 4 years old, and he was completely so autistic that they couldn't take him out in public because the stimulus was just too much. He couldn't handle it. So and he couldn't speak at age 4. He could not speak. Okay. And all he could do is point and go, that was it. And they were told straight up, your child will, this is your child's life. This is the new normal.
Right.
So she wasn't buying it. And so she researched and she went, basically went organic, right? Getting the chemicals out of the life. And her 4 years, now the movie took 4 years to make. By the time the movie was done, they went and found him, all 21 health issues resolved.
What?
Okay. 100%. The kid who was 4, who was so severely autistic, was in a regular classroom, no IEP, a regular classroom, and he was playing sports, which is like, for an autistic child, they can't do it. Playing in an instrument, playing an instrument in a band, or a symphony or whatever, the school, whatever.
Right.
And playing that is also very difficult for an autistic child. And story after story after story after story of people changing and getting the child's health back.
Wow.
And reclaiming the family. Okay. So if you're listening to this out there, if your child is having health issues, please make sure that you are looking at what's at the end of their fork.
Yeah.
Okay. 100%.
Yeah.
So Secret Ingredients, the movie by Jeffrey Smith, you can stream it from their website directly. And it is so powerful. It's such a powerful movie. And Jeffrey Smith is just amazing. He runs the nonprofit group. I think it's research for, I can't remember what the nonprofit is, but anyway, look for Jeffrey Smith. I think it's the Research for Technology. I can't remember. Anyway, but impressive man. I've done several interviews with him, and he is just a plethora of information about what issues that there are out in the world. Just incredible. He's done several movies. He's done a responsible technology. I think it is the Institute for Responsible Technology. I think that's his other nonprofit group.
Okay.
But he does these movies, and he really puts himself out there. His head on the chopping block.
Wow.
Because
I'll look for that one.
Yeah, no, it's powerful. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. No, that's great.
Well, what can your audience take away or expect to take away from this summit?
So, we have 11 presenters total, and each one has their area of expertise. And I'll put it this way. There are 10 internationally known speakers and one budding genius, that being the 12-year-old Anu, right? So I think people will be able to take away absolutely tips and tricks. Absolutely, we love those. Recipes for sure, as well as like the hard, I'm going to say it like I said before, the unsugar-coated truth, facts about what food does with children. And these are people who have worked with kids, right? And who have had success removing the chemicals and the animal-centric stuff from the diet, and have kids turn around and say things like, so for instance, the mother and daughter pair, Antonia and Ariel Dimas, have spent, I'm going to say between the two of them, probably at least 60 years working in classrooms with kids in all kinds of backgrounds and some very challenging situations. Antonia, Dr. Antonia Dimas, is the mom, right? She told me this story about when she was working at high school for incarcerated violent youth in Miami. Okay, you don't get in a tougher situation than that, right? And she went in to teach them about the importance of food and nutrition. She has a whole curriculum that she developed, beautiful, beautiful work. Worked with these kids for, I don't know, 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and had them keep a journal. And at the end of the 4 weeks, the kids were writing in their journals, I'm not angry today. I feel so much calmer today. I haven't wanted to have a fight in days now. I recover more quickly from basketball practice, or whatever she would, the kids were writing. That type of information is what we'll be getting in this summit. How each person, each one of these presenters has had some up close and personal, real experience working with children and helping them heal based on diet specifically. So that's the kind of stuff that's going to come out of this summit, story after story, experience after experience, answer after answer to questions upon questions. That's the beauty of it.
Well, how can people join this summit?
Well, if you go to, can you put this in the chat for me? Or do you have a little meme you can
Well,
put?
I'll put it in the Facebook group. So go ahead.
Beautiful. So here's the link. It's bit.ly/6, the number 6, MS dash summit dash register. On that page, you will see all kinds of information about the summit. It's kind of a long form explanation. And there's a place in the top right corner, I believe, that says tickets, and you can click on that to register. It is free. Like I said, it's free, it's live, it's online. You can put your questions in the chat. We'll have our board of directors, people from the board of directors answering questions in real time. We'll also put questions in line, like in a queue, for the presenters themselves. They may not get to them. There may be quite a few. At this point, we have about 250 people registered. But we'll try and get the questions answered by the presenters. If you absolutely want to have your questions answered by a presenter, I would encourage you to take the VIP upgrade. For $47, we don't get access to ask somebody like Joel Furman or Dr. Yami or Evelise Capot or Dilip Barman, Leanne Campbell. We just don't get access to these people readily to ask the questions that are important to us.
Right.
So super big perk. And even with that, with the $47 upgrade, you get recordings of all of the sessions, plus the recordings of the Q&A, the private VIP sessions, plus you get a swag bag, a virtual swag bag full of like recipe books and goodies, discounts, offers, different things. So well worth the price of admission. Certainly for free, it's well worth the price of admission.
I like free.
At $47, still worth the price of admission.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well done, you. Well done. Keep up the great work. And thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey, share about your summit. And I wish you all the best in this summit, and keep going, because, like Deborah Shapiro and I, we both came together. She was starting to see the issues with her clients, as an OBGYN, and she was starting to see a lot of miscarriages, a lot of women having issues with fertility problems. and on and on. And I was seeing it directly in the classroom, with our children. And I said, what is going on here?
Right, right. What is the through line? What is the thing here?
Yeah, it's true. So that's why we started the Pregnancy Advantage. So well done to you. Keep up the amazing work, because if we're going to change the next generation, we have to start with the mothers before they get pregnant, so that they can get the message. And then once they are pregnant, and to make sure that they're getting the right nutrition, right? And then once they give birth, to make sure that their children are getting the best possible food. Because as a mother, you want that for your child. And it's one of the reasons why I do this, that I'm, so adamant about this, is, I know that my children growing up, and I wish I had known this when they were small, because I was doing what my mother did.
That's right.
Raising
and
my
what your
children.
doctor tells you to do, right?
Exactly. And so my daughter was lactose intolerant, or had, issues with that. And I was continually giving them dairy, and my daughter was always getting sick. My son was always getting sick, ear infection after throat infection after everything. And it's like, and I never put the two together, never, and so I do this for them.
Yeah, right.
Because I wish I had known, and I will carry around this burden in my life, because I know that there's certain issues that they're dealing with now because of what I did to them. And I can't, I have to let go of that guilt, but
because
this is
we know as much as we know, and we do the best we can with what we have, right?
right.
But I
we
had
have
this
to educate.
absolutely, and I had a similar situation with my children, giving them milk and cheese toast and cream of this and ice creamy that. Kids were allergic to dairy, totally allergic. Until you find, in my case, my older son was kind of laid out on the couch when he was 2 years old and couldn't get up with a fever of 104. Went to the doctor, got antibiotics because he had an ear infection. 10 days later, went back to the doctor. He had the ear infection in the other ear, and the doctor wanted to start the antibiotics over again. And I was like, this is not going to work. There's something else here. And at that point is when I figured out that he was allergic to dairy products.
It's true.
What do you know?
Anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Well done to you. Keep up the great work.
Yes, likewise. Pleasure finding another sister in the journey. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.